Everyone out there who come in. Welcome to Wednesday Wednesday. My name is Tim Wilson. Good to see you. Good turnout. We've got looks like about half and half. First timers versus repeats. We run Wednesday. We've been doing them almost monthly for 8 or 9 years now. You know, someday we'll 15. So 100 years back since before there was a web call. They're always free thanks to the generosity of our sponsors, who for this year are Team Builder Search and Adept Marketing. And venue-wise, we're here because we've got Coomer Boy claiming that we will not trash the place. So please don't trash the place. I want to plug, it's been running on the slide here. We've got if you go to cbuswaw.com/jobs, you can post a job or find a job. There are, I think, 8 or 10 jobs there now. If you're looking to move, if you're looking to hire somebody, you can post something there. I keep getting hit up by, I think Cardinal Health has like 2 different analytics roles right now. One's like a senior e-commerce analyst person. I don't know if you guys have decided or not. And I'm going to call an audible here. So Michael emailed me about good SEO or SEM resources to read or follow. I said Moz. Who else has something? Anyone?
Search Engine Journal just released their 2016 guide. It's like 300 pages long, but it's pretty helpful, pretty good. Not too much fluff. I mean, it is 300 pages long, though.
You read the whole thing?
Yeah.
What, highlighted?
I printed it. That's how I knew it was 286 pages long.
That's ironic. Anyone else? Come on.
So search engine land,
Search engine land.
blog, and then Lunametrics. Always a good blog posts.
Lunametrics, I'll second that. Great stuff.
There she is. The R stuff. Any R users? Where's my R? Dark66.com, new website. Okay. And we are, I think, actually, I forgot to ask, where'd Darren go? Are we live streaming?
Yep.
Already?
Yep.
Okay.
Alright.
So how do people find it? I mean, you guys hopefully don't need it. We'll tweet it, so we'll, look at that. Brian's tweet it. So, okay, with that, I think that's all I've got. Feel free to get up and grab more food. Storm off to make Drew nervous when he's talking. He won't take it personally. So Drew Gomor used to help organize. He actually built our cbuswaw.com site back when he lived in Ohio. And then he left us and went to Atlanta. And before he left, I said, can't you've done all this research and the good data, and Domo, and there'll be a few, and he'll probably mention them. You should come talk to the group about that. And he was like, no, I'm going to leave the state. So, but luckily I had a podcast with his boss, so he thought he was getting away. So he came back, and so that is, we kind of hit him up to give this little talk, and I'm going to turn the button back here, right?
Yeah, there's a remote person.
Oh, technicals.
Yeah, I need to.
Just do that. Once again, big thanks to Claire Williams. Working earlier. The funny thing is the sign over there is like, press the button once. And you always have to press it.
Whoa, that's cool.
All right, give it up for Drew.
Okay. Hello, everybody at home and everybody here. My name is Drew Godmiller. I have been coming to these for several years, and like And like Tim mentioned, I did move last year to Atlanta to work at Search Discovery. So a little bit of background about me. I have 5 to 8 years experience for those people who are doing stuff with Michael Levin's team or people who have been doing digital analytics in school. Yes, you can count all those technical years. But officially 5 years in digital marketing analytics time. I am a former cbuswaw organizing member. So for the last couple of years, I got to come here, help Tim set everything up, and I was always a little bit nervous because I felt like there's always more to talk about. And there's always more learning to do. So today I'm a senior analyst and business consultant at Search Discovery. We're analytics and marketing agency based in Atlanta, Georgia. But you can actually find us all across the country. So we're really excited. We're working in about 13 states today. We kind of try to hire the best people wherever they live. And in my case, I wanted to kind of go down the accelerated track, so I did come down to Atlanta last year for a little while so I could get a jump start. So I'm really excited to work with everyone at Search Discovery. Before I get started, I did want to talk a little bit about our partnerships that we have in place, because I will be mentioning a bunch of different tools, and I don't want you to think that I'm pushing one way or another, so I want to talk about the ones that we do have partnerships with today. So we are partners with Domo, Tableau, and Sweet Spot Intelligence, and then Google Analytics and Adobe Analytics. We're partners with all these guys, and we do some really great work with them. But if you hear me mention them, I am a little bit biased because I have a little bit more experience with all of these tools today. So today I really want to talk to you about the road to BI, or what I call how I slowly moved beyond Excel. So over the last couple of years, I worked in a bunch of different tools. At my first job when I started, I kind of called this level 1. So about 4 or 5 years ago, all the reporting I was doing from Google Analytics, Google AdWords, Facebook, Bing Ads, I was doing everything from Excel. So I was pulling those reports or pulling those data feeds out of Excel every month, doing a big report, sending it out to clients. I did a lot of work that way, and it was really good at the time. It got a lot of things across that I really wanted to talk about, and it did the majority of the high-level reporting that I wanted to do. And if this is you today, it's not a problem at all. Thousands of companies today actually run their entire business on Excel, and I see that in the work that I'm doing now as I'm getting into more business intelligence work. We talk to companies all the time that they're getting reports from all their individual franchises, they're getting individual reports from all of their different locations. Kind of all over the business, Excel is still very much the workhorse of the industry. So I'm by no means trying to say, that Excel is dead or anything like that. I think Excel is going to be around for a long time. But I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things that maybe you push up against Excel, or there are other tools that maybe can do some of those things a little bit better. There's a lot of really great options. So newsflash, if you are in this kind of role today, Excel is really great. It does cover most of the basic high-level reporting. You can really easily share all your spreadsheets and PDFs and data that you need to send to people. You can get the message across, right? But you're still having to pull a lot of your data from web interfaces. You're having to grab it from all your different tools. And there's a lot of time that you spend downloading those reports, bringing that data into Excel, processing it, cleaning it up, making sure it says what you want it to say, and all of those different things. But for the most part, Excel, is really well done. It has some great customizable features. Some of the new stuff that Microsoft is working on to integrate with Power BI. It's used by all kinds of different industries. But I was getting frustrated with this in my own work, and I was thinking, I need to sit myself down and say, hey, how can I be doing this better? So at the time, I was trying to think about, how could I make this easier for myself? So I should have been thinking about, rather than just how to make it easier for me as an analyst, how can I make my data easier to share with other people? how can I make it easier to automate this process for myself and for other people on my team so that I don't have to do the same thing every month or every week, right? We've all heard people talk about reporting monkeys, and you can get into that state. So I should have asked, how can I make everything I'm doing easier to replicate for myself and the next person? But I didn't do that. What I said is, how do I just get better spreadsheets or better tools, right? How can I make my life a little bit easier? There has to be something out there to work from. And so I kind of went down this level 2 path in digital marketing. And a lot of these tools today are used by agencies and companies all across the industry. So Raven Tools is kind of the next one that I went to. It has a ton of SEO, SEM data for all our kind of agency people. Tons of people use Supermetrics, and I know that Supermetrics just rolled out like a Supermetrics Premium, which now does stuff with DoubleClick. So there's a ton of really cool things that are going on in Raven, Supermetrics. I've even seen people use Sife and BrainShare, which is actually an in-depth marketing spinoff right here in Columbus, so I thought I'd mention them. NinjaCat, these are all tools that I use either for paid search, for analytics, for media, all those different things. And for a lot of what I was doing, these tools are great as well. They have standardized reporting for the most part. They have automated data importing, so it's taking some of that burden off you as an analyst. You're able to schedule emails out of a lot of these tools. So you can send that data to your boss every month or every week, and you don't have to go through the rigmarole of talking to him, or I guess you don't want to. So they also have most of the stuff that we deal with as a digital analyst day to day. They have social data, SEM data, SEO data, all the kinds of things that we need to do. A lot of stuff is replicable, so you can take a report that you've done for one client, you can move it over and generate it again for another client. And for the most part, it's still very customizable. So I was like, this is great. As a digital marketing analyst, these tools have everything that I need and I wanted. And I went to my boss and I was talking to him and I was like, all these tools are great. We should just get these tools. And he was like, can we talk a little bit? Can we have a little conversation? If we're going to be spending that much money on a tool, some of these are pretty price efficient, some of them get a little more expensive. But if we're going to be spending money on a tool to get beyond what we're already doing, let's make sure we connect our marketing budgets as well. Once we do that, then we can finally focus in on our marketing attribution. So I was like, great, that sounds like a good idea. And then when I started looking into it, it actually poses a really big problem. And that problem is Microsoft SQL Server. So most financial companies work on Microsoft SQL Server, and all those level 2 tools that we know and love as digital analysts don't integrate at all with SQL Server. Now Tim will attest, or other people will probably tell me, that there are tools today on the marketplace that do integrate with SQL Server, like Power BI and a couple others. And so this is rapidly changing, and I would expect the marketplace to keep evolving in this way. But this was a big problem for me a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, when those tools didn't exist. So what I should have asked at this point is, what data am I actually going to need to connect to in the next 3 years? Can the tool that I'm looking at today actually make those connections? Are those connections automated, or do I still have to set them up? Is it replicable? All of those different things, right? So did I do all of that and think critically about the platform that I should be choosing? I went back to the drawing board. So I came across this really great report. Maybe you've heard about it if you're looking into any of the tools in kind of this stack. I found this thing called the Gartner BI Magic Quadrants report, which is really cool. It has all these different tools on it and how useful they can be. So I was reading it. It's like just the overview is like a 30-page paper, like you were saying. It's about a 30-page paper that talks all about all these different tools. But one thing that I saw in the middle of it was kind of this little quote that said, we define the business intelligence and analytics market kind of broadly. we actually include a variety of products that span a range of buyers and use cases. So when I started calling these companies up, I quickly realized some of them are way out of my price range, or they have all these different features that I didn't really need in the digital marketing space. I just needed digital marketing plus SQL. And so there is a range of tools, and it was really a challenge for me to try to figure that out. So I kept calling and talking to them, and then in 2016, Gartner actually did us all a great favor. They came out with a second report that talks about advanced analytics. So not only now do you have business intelligence tools to choose from, you also have advanced analytics tools. So I think rather than talk about all the tools that are available today, I think it's important to step back and think about what you're actually doing in this process of reporting or visualization or business intelligence. So a lot of the business intelligence marketplace, if you're not familiar with it, if you are, I'm sorry I'm repeating some things that you probably already know, but it's broken down into a couple different pieces called the ETL stack, which starts with data extraction. So the first piece that a lot of these tools do is, how do I just get the data out of tools today? So if you're using Excel, you're going in and downloading that data. Maybe you're using R or Python, you're pulling that data out of those tools via the API. Some of these tools have pre-built connections where you just log in and it downloads all your data and you're off to the races. But they all have some kind of extraction layer where they're pulling data from your current tools and they're bringing them into one space. The second piece that has to go on in each of these is somehow you have to make those data sets talk to each other. So you have to do a little bit of transformation of your data, where you make your Facebook data talk to your Twitter data and all of those things. So it might sound kind of complex, but really, if you're talking about those things, you're really talking about, I want my impressions, clicks, cost, conversions, all of those things, just to line up in a consistent way every day. But you have to have a tool to do that. Because you as an analyst are probably doing a lot of that work today. And then the last piece is actually the visualization piece, or being able to build charts and graphs on top of that. So when I look at this, all I see, this is about as useful to me as all the charts that Gartner offers, because none of these things really mean anything to me unless I'm going to pick up the phone and call all 70 different tool vendors that are available here on this nice little word cloud. So if you have 70 hours of tools and you have 70 hours of demo time in you, please come talk to me, because I would love to hear your experience as well. But personally, I don't really have the time for that. So, one of the things I decided, now that I'm working at Search Discovery and I'm advising this kind of information for clients, is stop thinking about tools and start thinking about what is it you actually need before you go even talk to any of these vendors. So the things that I usually think about when I'm talking to clients is, start first with, where is my data located today? Is it on premises, or is it in a bunch of different web interfaces across the internet? Think about the data that you're going to want in the next 1 to 3 years, rather than just the data that you need today. So today you might just be pulling in your digital marketing data, and that works for you. But as soon as you start to say, well, I want to work on attribution or ROI, and I want to pull my Facebook or my financial data in, the next thing you're going to want to say is, well, what if we brought in our Marketo data a little bit to look at how our lead automation stuff is working? And then what if I brought in my call center data to see if my salespeople are actually picking up the phone? What if then we brought in some longer-term lifetime value stats so we could see how those people progress through the funnel in their whole lifetime? So think about that entire process with your boss, probably, or with your director, and make sure you're thinking about not necessarily the data you want to play with today, but the data that you're going to want to play with in the next couple of years. The second thing that I would ask you to think about is my data structured yet? So if you're pulling data from the Google Analytics API today, it's pretty standardized, right? The Google Analytics API is very, very stable for the most part. It's pretty well regulated. It's not changing very often. They do change things Whereas if you think about Facebook, they change metrics all the time. Their data is updated constantly. It's not as structured or stable. And then you have your own internal data. If you know that guy from IT that manages a financial database, you really probably don't know what kind of structure that's in, when's the last time it was updated, how clean that data might be. So we're not necessarily talking about big data. Yes, I brought the big data. We're talking about a lot of little small pieces of data that we have to try to squeeze together. So the next thing I would probably ask you to think about is, do I have a data warehouse? So if you work in a highly regulated industry like healthcare or finance or something that involves personal information or personal health information, you probably have a data warehouse, or you're probably going to have a data warehouse to be able to manage this data. So you want to ask any vendor that you're working with, are you able to handle, HIPAA compliance or PII or any of those things before you're going to want to be putting your data in the cloud. So that's the other piece is do I require a data warehouse? Do I need to have my data physically on site because I'm required to do that? Or am I okay with hosting it in the cloud and using some of the cloud services which are moving to become the norm more and more closely? So that's kind of the big questions I ask. Obviously, there's a whole bunch of others that you've seen throughout this deck, and we're going to post it online. Those are the big ones that I like to ask. So maybe if you just need a visualization layer and you're looking for something, you have a great data warehouse, your data is all structured and it's beautiful, and you just need to build charts and graphs on top of it, then there's a lot of really good tools for that. So if you don't have a data warehouse today, Power BI is a good place to start. And I've heard SI-Sense, I haven't played with it, but I've heard it's also a good place to start for this kind of work. If you do have a data warehouse, Tableau is the running kind of standard for this kind of work. It is obviously the market leader today, but I don't think it will stay that way because of some of the things that we'll talk about in a little bit. But Sweet Spot Intelligence is someone we work with. We really like their ability to build reports and scale them out to different departments and things. And then JasperSoft is kind of the used to be the open source tool, but it's very popular in the marketplace as well. And these tools are all really great. They're going to go a little bit beyond what we talked about before with just the marketing data. So they do often have marketing data connections. They also are able to finally connect with SQL. They're able to do visualization only. So when we talk about that ETL stack, a lot of them have limited or minimal data transformation work that you can do. And the data is still not quite connected. So there's some assembly required in getting the data to be extracted properly with some of these tools. That's just my belief in looking at them. If someone is an expert in one of these tools and wants to tell me differently, please come to me afterwards because I would love to hear about how that works. But in my experience and in my opinion, that's not most people. Most of people's data is disparate, unstructured, and chaotic. It's very, very spread out all over the place, and trying to get it together can be a job in and of itself. So for that, there's kind of what I'm calling the level 4 tier of tools, which are full-blown, business intelligence suite type of tools. So they're going to have most of the things you need, right? They're going to have a broad list of connections that you can make. They're going to have strong data transformation tools. They're going to have near real-time data importing features that you can use. They're going to be intuitive to use. I'm not going to say they're easy to use because we all know that every tool comes with its own little quirks and things like that, but they should be relatively intuitive to use. They should be able to do customized data visualization, and they should have some options for you to be able to distribute that data out within your company. So those are kind of all the things that I would want to look for in a tool. So out of that list, when I was doing this research, I kind of sorted it down to these guys, and I've talked to a couple of people already today who have either looked at some of these or looked at several others. Obviously, the one that we chose as kind of our primary tool for our own business is largely Domo today. So I'd just like to talk a little bit about why we chose that and why it's a good strategy for us. and hopefully it will help you think a little bit about how you're doing things today and give you some context to go by. So the first reason is the data extraction side. Domo has already 400 pre-built connectors that we can use to date. They have push and pull SQL import, so if you are a really highly regulated industry, you don't have to worry about firewall issues as much because you can either pull data out or you can have your server push data up. You can get data into the tool up to every 15 minutes, which for me is awesome because if you're doing social monitoring or something cool like that, you have all those features available. And it's pretty intuitive to use, in my opinion. From the transformation aspect, we have the ability to transform things in MySQL, in Redshift, and in Magic ETL, which is their kind of drag and drop tool that they have. It kind of looks like this. So you're able to pull data in. This is a whole bunch of data from Google Sheets. You're able to pull it in, grab it, combine it, do joins and change rows and all kinds of things, and generate data sets inside without really writing any code, which is great. And they also have beast mode, which is some on-the-fly calculations. So if you're doing things like bounce rate, or you want to make a quick name change, or filter out errors, some on-the-fly stuff that you can do that we really like. So from a transformation aspect, it works really well for us. It has the SQL data transformations. It has Redshift, so that if we were to bring in bigger data, we have that option for us in the future. It has that Magic ETL drag and drop interface that we really like, and it has beast mode, which is kind of on-the-fly transformation. So anything that we want to do on that aspect, it works really nicely for us. From the visualization side, they have a ton of different graphs and charts. We don't have to build them over and over again and share them with our boss each week or our client each week because the data is live. They update automatically, which we really like because it saves me time. So I can focus on doing cooler analysis. And again, they have a bunch of different chart types and cool things that we can use. The other cool thing that I like about them that I haven't seen in another tool in the marketplace is they have some really great data collaboration features. So it used to be you put your report together, you put it in an email, you send it to your boss sends it back with a bunch of changes, and it gets a reply all out to a bunch of other people. They tell you all the things that are wrong with your work, and then you fix it all and re-present it to them. So the nice thing about this data collaboration piece is that once your charts and graphs are up and running, you can have kind of real-time chat about anything that's going on in those charts, and it's stored alongside those cards forever. So next month when your boss is saying, hey, why was this number weird last month, that conversation is already stored here, and it makes it really easy to do all of those things. The last thing that I really like about it is the data distribution aspect. So they have some really great HTML5, what are they called? They're not PowerPoints. You can share data out as an HTML5, so you can basically build a set of charts and graphs, and you can send the link to someone, and you're able to use it on cell phones, and it's compliant to any browser size. Responsive, yes. Words are hard. So yeah, it does really well that way, and they also have an app. And one of the other things that I really like about it is they actually have alerts. So if your bosses want to not really read your reports or something like that, it's pretty easy to help them set up alerts so that they can just get notified if something important changes. So they can go back to doing what they're doing as well. But the data is always here if they want to look at it, like when they're golfing on Saturday. So that's kind of my speech. The last thing I wanted to leave you is one of the quotes that I really did think was important to take away from that Gartner report, and that is that in recent years, the need for a centralized, highly governed system of record, like an IT system, has been kind of counterbalanced by the need for agility and analyst autonomy. So whether you decide to buy a bunch of new tools or to expand, whatever you choose to do, I think this is generally the way that the industry is headed, where we're moving out of our own little silo and talking about analytics data, and we're talking into the broader context of the data that's also happening in our operations departments, our HR departments, our financial departments, and things like that. So that's all from me. I'd love if you guys have any questions or you want to talk about some of the tools that you guys are working with today. I'll be here, or I can answer some questions now. But that's my talk.
I've got one.
Okay.
So you mentioned like Data Studio or Analysis Workspace from Adobe.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see it as the way, because there's a need to be looking across multiple places, that like where do you see those players who kind of have a core in web analytics and are saying you can bring data into our environment, fitting into this whole thing?
That's a good question. So I think I'm really interested to see what Google's doing with their stuff today. I think they already know they want to bring in Google data, and they've already let you bring in SQL data for Data Studio. It'll be interesting to see how many other connectors they build and how easy they really make it once you get beyond their own tools, because they're probably not going to let you bring Adobe data into the Google Analytics product very readily, or they're not going to make it easy for you. So I think it'd be interesting. I think it's going to be a very competitive space. From the Adobe side, they've got some really good connections going on their side as well, and they're doing some creative ways to pull data in. But I don't know in the next year or two where they're going to have kind of a sandbox where you can pull any data into the tool. But I could be wrong. That's what I'm thinking. Yep.
What level of organization would be your client for like demo type stuff? It seems like it's almost, it's all proprietary information. I mean, somebody has that overview with inside, outside, and everything happening on that one area. I mean, if somebody hacked into that, they pretty much own you, wouldn't they? Is it a C-level, or are you guys, like as an analyst, I mean, you have the inside of the whole organization with a tool like that?
So we see all kinds of sizes of companies using it, and we see people at all levels use it. So Domo specifically is really targeted to be able to build things that are also useful to C-level. So a lot of times we see people at each of the different levels using the tool, just because it's kind of built to do things that way. And from a security standpoint, I think that they've worked really hard to protect some of that stuff. So permissions are very well locked down. They have a number of different permission settings that you can get to, and you can't have access to individual data points unless they're shared with you individually. So if you were able to get access to it, you wouldn't, if you could even do like an email hack or something like that, right? You would only be able to access the data that person has access to. And they are rolling out as of, I think, this week, two-step authentication and all the things that we're seeing in modern security environments today. So I'm pretty confident today, based on what I know about their tool, that they're working really hard since they are all cloud-based today.
You could, with the dashboard, how it's all shown, you can only, like, need to know, I mean, you can share parts of it. I mean, it might bring all the data together and have all these different analysis, but you don't have to share everything. You can just share parts of it with the people who really need that data, right?
Right, so you can share individual pages, and they also have row-level filtering and column-level filtering. So you can use, they call it personalized data permissions. You can actually create policies to be able to distribute data at the row level. So this is data that Steve's allowed to see. So anything that has Steve marked in it is visible to Steve, and he can't see anybody else's data, or this client, or this vendor, or this franchisee. It's structured that way.
And you can automate it all too, so you send this out through email attachments, right?
So I think scheduled emailing is still coming, but they do have a lot of options for like the alerts and things like that, where you can send a scheduled alert and it'll run daily or weekly or something.
Or your client can log into a certain part of it and just see this part of the data set. I mean, is it cloud-based or not cloud-based?
It is all cloud-based today. But yes, they do have client-facing visibility that kind of locks down some of the features where you'd be able to plug and play with the data, but they still can make the actual visualizations drillable and filterable and all those things that clients would want to do. So if they want to look at their revenue by department, for example, they could filter it to their own department, or they could go down and look at individual transactions or something like that. Anybody else? Yeah, I'll send you.
Thanks, Drew. That's good. That's not all we had. I did realize I neglected to actually point out that like this fancy little cameras. We've got Darren in the back there. I was actually watching the Facebook live stream. You know, you could actually pop between the slides like it's edited on the fly. It's pretty awesome. Doesn't mean you shouldn't come back again. Apparently I was worried about that. But, so thanks for coming.
Now, I'm gonna put that on the pizza place because they said these pizzas will feed lots of people.
We were like,
Extra large, and I went to pick them up, and I said, you know, that's not as extra large as you have been selling. I was thinking it would be like this, and it's like 10% more than a large.
We have like 3+ solid years of data where our forecasting ability on food quantities,
Which was thrown off by adding in this unknown variable.
unknown variables.
If I had stuck
We
to
need to keep
large,
doing things the old way. None of the Chinese food from.
there are a lot of cookies out there, though, and potato
And
chips.
chips. So thanks for coming. We'll be at the camera. We're back in October. Don't know what we're talking about. We will be here. We hope to see you then. Thanks for coming.